Hi, everybody. We are live. This is Arsenal Fan Circle, and I think both of us have smiles on our faces. A win, hopes. A 2-0 win, comprehensive. I'm going to say a
Du-
comprehensive win. Yeah, you can
du-
nitpick everything, right?
W's only. W's only. Yeah.
W's only, and that's all that matters, right?
We
Uh,
start the new year off with a win.
Arteta's first win and a high profile win as well against the Manchester United team.
Start of a new year, a new decade with a win against Man United,
Yeah,
who have
yeah.
turned us over for so many years. Jesse Lingard will not be dancing tonight. Haha.
No, he was, Jesse Lingard was taken off. Um, I have it in my notes here somewhere. It says it's so, you know. But we'll get into all of that. Noe, thanks for coming in. Thanks for joining us. Um, we couldn't not do a podcast, and yes, it's 3 hours later, but the glow is still there. And something like I think David Luiz was speaking a lot of sense. Uh, when you sleep happily, you can sleep for 4 hours. If you sleep sad, 8 hours is a long time. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but he said something like that.
Wise words. I mean, to be honest, I didn't think he had it in him. I thought he was just coming to pick up his check each week when he joined the Arsenal. But
Yeah,
wow, what a couple of performances now from
he's
him.
actually strung two performances together, David Luiz. I thought it was just a
Abs-
once a year thing against Chelsea hopes.
Absolutely everything you what I'd want from a centre back: vocal, strong, instructive. Um, just he had presence. He had presence.
Yeah, I'm flashing it up on the banner because we haven't seen that too many times. Gonna milk this for all it's worth. Second win maybe in 15 games in all competitions. Outside of that West Ham game, it's only our second game this season where we've had a two-goal difference at the end. We beat West Ham 3-1 away from home. The bearded Gooner was there live, and we won today. And every other game has been a struggle. If we've won a game, it's been by one goal, and if we've lost games, sometimes more than one goal.
Absolutely, we've either held on or we've drawn. But it's just so nice. I think that was our first home victory since October the 6th. Remind
Yeah,
me.
yeah,
Yeah,
Bournemouth, and I've taken some notes as well. And we this is our fourth clean sheet of the season out of 20 or 21 games now. And the other three were Newcastle away on the first day, a 1-0 win. Bournemouth at home, like we mentioned. And then, of course, Everton away, where Arteta ostensibly Lundberg took that game, but Arteta did give the players some pointers. And I think we can look back at that Everton game as being a time where the paradigm of the club, the culture of the club has changed from what it was to what it is going to be.
yeah, absolutely. Not all failure or defeats are bad. Sometimes we
Or
need them.
or a summer camp as well. I think the days of the summer camp is over.
Well and truly, well and
Yeah,
truly. I just want to say, yeah, Happy New Year to all your
no,
viewers, Noe, and anyone else who's watching this live or who watches it on the playback. Happy New Year. Wish you all the best for the forthcoming year.
no, he still has a hangover from New Year's Eve party. And why would you stop drinking after today's result as well? You still
Abs-
here, burning the midnight oil, Noe.
yeah, definitely. I mean, just keep that vibe going, that happy vibe. Feeling the love. Absolutely. And just with that win, like you say, Ray. Just why would you stop?
Yeah, on the pregame show, I was talking to Matt here. It was like for symmetry, we had to get a win today. In three games, Arteta's draw in the first game. Unlucky in some ways to lose the second game, but in the third game, um, coming up trumps today versus Manchester United.
absolute, what a response, first and foremost. I was not expecting a response on that level. Um, Commitment, dedication, enthusiasm, high levels of energy.
Mhm.
I,
Definitely.
that first half, I had two screens going on in my head. One, my TV screen, and the second, I had an image in the forefront of my mind, and that was Mikel Arteta's press conferences today. He's backing up everything he's saying he wants to bring to the club, how he wants us to play. Every player had a job, every player was doing a job, they were playing as a team. I mean, I was at the Chelsea game, and that was painful. I was pissed. I was just so angry.
In the last 10 minutes, hopes, or were you angry before that?
No, when the second goal went in,
Yeah,
so it
yeah.
was, to come away with a defeat. I mean, I would have settled for a draw, but the referee decisions and just coming away with nil point, as it were,
Yeah.
it was really, really painful. But credit, hats off to the guys. I mean, I was watching the game, and I was tonight's game, and I'm thinking, I'm guilty. I owe some of my Twitter followers an apology because I did not think David Luiz, Xhaka, um, Socrates, Kolasinac. I did not, even Lacazette on his recent form, Pepe to a certain extent. I did not believe they had that first half performance in them. I just didn't
Hmm.
believe it.
Yeah.
I kind of thought, okay, bar Pepe and Laka, that they've reached their peak. It's terminal velocity. Velocity. They're not going to be able to improve on what they've provided so far. And wow, my jaw just kept on dropping. The way we took the game to United and did not allow them to play. Hats off to the Arsenal players. You all deserve all the credit, all of you collectively.
Yeah, it's really tough to try to understand three high intensity games in less than a week, or in pretty much 7 days. To go away to Bournemouth, in and of itself, it would be difficult on the first day out last week, and then to play two really, really high profile games, albeit at home. I don't think we had the worst schedule. I think Wolverhampton Wanderers might have had a really bad turn of fixtures in the last week for them. But still, for our team with a new philosophy, it was tough to keep the legs fresh.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially at a pivotal stage, the third manager in so many months. Like you touched on, Ray, a new philosophy, a new way of doing things, just having to pick yourself up. I know, in my day job, it's difficult when, personnel change and you think, okay, what's this one going to bring, or when are they going to fizzle out, or what have you. But in my opinion, I have seen nothing but improvement from each player game on game. I could say I can't even call out Laka because even though he missed chances tonight and he missed chances against Chelsea, it's still his performance was an improvement
Yeah,
on the Chelsea performance that he put in. So where they're getting this energy from, and the lack of time Mikel's had with the players, but the likes of Ainsley, Saka, Reese, Pepe tonight, what they're doing is just phenomenal. I mean, even Aubameyang, the more senior players of the team, putting in a shift. 80th minute, having that. Excuse me, that having a 1-2 with Ozil, just it is so breathtaking to watch. I don't think the dreaded R word of relegation is no longer a worry.
yeah. I
Not
mean,
not with those performances.
if people were talking about the dreaded R, it was very, very muted, not very widespread. But yes, the spectre was there. We would have been 4 points above the relegation zone. Now we've pulled away a little bit. We can well and truly yes, we have to get the points in the bag. Every team has to get to 40 plus points before any team can feel safe. I truly believe that's every team's objective is to get to 40 points as soon as possible because there's no team that is too good to go down, such as that Leeds team back in the 90s, I believe. Um, but learning from tough lessons, and I think we really, really did learn from tough lessons. For me, it was very, very similar game to Chelsea, but we had more good and less bad from that Chelsea game. It was uncannily, really, hopes how it kind of mirrored for me, at least the first 30 minutes of the game.
See, I think it was the game plan was similar, but two players made the game different, and they were missed against Chelsea. Kolasinac and Xhaka, just their presence and their experience.
Yeah,
Kolasinac in the first half, wow, what a power horse! You know, I don't know what he was on, but he that's how I want Saka to attack when he attacks. Be ferocious, be a lion, be fearless, really run at the players, draw the foul if you had to. His link-up play, Kolasinac, with Aubameyang in that first half was nothing short of exquisite. He was just providing option after option for Aubameyang, and equally he was getting back, and he was really put in a shift. And likewise, Xhaka again, who was missing from the Chelsea match due to his illness, he was helping Torreira a lot in so much as Torreira, although he put in a man of the match performance, I felt his gameplay was more structured and he was less of a headless chicken.
yeah, definitely. And be it good or be it bad, but Granit Xhaka, um, the limit, the limits in his game, we still do need his leadership, even though he does have limitations in his game. We don't have a a strong midfield, strong enough that we can put players in ahead of Granit Xhaka. Be that good or be that bad, I think he plays very, very well with Torreira. Hopes.
I believe Xhaka is a process oriented player. He needs to have a system, a structure, clear instructions and guidelines, and then just like a robot, he will do as required.
Yeah,
Um, Under the last regime, as we all saw, he was frustrated a lot. He wasn't getting that. We saw at the full time whistle today as he came off the pitch and he went round and clapped all the fans first. The massive smile on his face. I'm not sure if you saw that. But
yeah,
there was a lot in that smile. It wasn't just a 2-0 victory. There was a lot, in so much as I think he is I think not just him, but all of the players. But as we are talking about Xhaka, he's really benefiting from the new regime, the new personnel, and the new training staff under Mikel. And you could see he was, I don't know, tonight when I was watching it, both David Luiz and Granit Xhaka, I didn't have that apprehension each time they got the ball because when they got the ball they were zipping it around very quickly, one touch, one touch, simple passes. Granit seems, I noticed this in the Bournemouth game as well, he seems to be just looking for Torreira to give Torreira the ball so Torreira can then dispatch the ball,
okay,
and he seems to be happy with that. I cannot recollect in tonight's game if Xhaka actually played any of those long over the, like long balls
yeah,
over the
yeah,
top. They were all pretty short, succinct, and yeah, it'd be interesting to see what his pass success rate was tonight. But definitely, I therefore believe that those two players really changed things for us and gave us, they enabled um, Mikel Arteta's game plan and tactics to be carried out more comprehensively, unlike Guendouzi did. Not calling Guendouzi out, he puts in a shift, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just think that's one word. It's experience.
I mean, I think it's fair to call out Guendouzi when you compare the Chelsea game with the Manchester United game. You see the deficiencies clearly in Guendouzi's game as well. Um, but yeah, I think you're right. Thinking about it now, Xhaka and Torreira played very, very well together. And if anyone, it was Ozil who was popping those balls over the top, mainly toward Pepe. And I kind of talked about this in the pre-game show because I did anticipate Pepe would come in ahead of Nelson. So what we had was a classic Arteta Pep kind of thing going on the right wing where Arteta's gotten a tune out of Nelson, and now he's saying to Pepe, "Okay, here's your chance. I'm going to give you a game and see what you can do with competition."
I think that's fair. I think that's fair. Um, I'm just you know,
Because for the Chelsea game, Ozil Nelson combined very very well, and it wasn't quite the same with Pepe because Pepe does tend to hold on to the ball on the right wing a little bit and cut back inside.
yeah, I was apprehensive to answer just off the cuff there because two things that come into mind. First, about Ozil, he now has service from David Luiz, Ozil, and Ainsley Maitland-Niles. Sorry, from Torreira and Ainsley Maitland-Niles.
Yeah,
They look for Ozil as they get close to the halfway line. They just look for Ozil. And
yeah,
going back to Pepe, in my opinion, I believe Mikel left him out primarily in the last two games to get him to watch how Reece Nelson links up with Ainsley Maitland-Niles
yes,
and how Reece Nelson drops back to cover Ainsley. And therefore, this is why I was hesitant to answer your question straight off the cuff.
yeah,
Therefore, tonight's game was a game of two halves.
yeah,
Arteta knew and he'd drilled it into the players. We have to steamroll them. We cannot allow them to play in the first half. And for that, he needed the likes of Pepe. Because when Pepe scored in the eight and a half minute,
yeah,
I asked myself the question, if that was Reece, would he have scored? And I said no, because Pepe, he struck that ball um, straight away. He didn't, it was first time. He
mm-hmm.
did not, whereas Reece would have taken an extra couple of chances. So I think
Touch, yeah,
Mikel keeping Pepe on the bench for the last two games has not just increased Pepe's appetite, but it's also helped him learn from the English game.
yeah, yeah, and also you're right. With Nelson playing, it's like he's saying to Pepe, "Look, this is what I expect you to do when you come on, when you play." And to be fair to Pepe, I was watching for that to see if he would get back in shape, into shape of the team. When you lose the ball, when you're out of possession, you get back into a certain shape. But let's go to my notes here. I first of all, my first notes was I thought it was very, very brave of Arteta to play these four players together, the front three plus Ozil. Very, very brave move on Arteta's part.
Can I ask why?
Yeah, can you ask why it was brave?
Yeah.
Because you're putting some four offensive players on the field together, all four of them together, and it's not really been done before, aside from one or two other games.
Okay, my comeback to that is, but you've seen Ozil track back against Chelsea. You've seen Laka track back
Yeah.
against Chelsea and Aubameyang.
Yes.
So although they're four out and out players, that's undeniable. Arteta, just like Unai Emery, I believe he he expects them to track back,
Yeah,
to
yeah,
press and to track back. So when you say, you thought it was a brave move, what part of that was brave other than that they're attackers? Are you saying that you thought it was
yes. You're
brave?
putting too many attack-minded players
Right, but are
up
you
front, and
and
as we
because
saw, Manchester United didn't really turn up in a counter-attacking style, or were not allowed to.
are you saying it was brave because you don't think those four players would track back?
Yes,
Even
in
though
any way. I mean, obviously, their DNA has not been to track back.
but they
Pepe,
have
Pepe and Ozil in particular. There's been this thing about playing the two of them together in the team.
but you see they were okay, minus Pepe against Chelsea, wouldn't you say?
Yes, yes. Nevertheless, I thought it was brave.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I mean, I didn't think of it. I didn't think of it as brave. I had faith.
Yeah,
And I think throughout this game, um, they did track back, even Pepe to a certain extent. However,
yeah,
I think Pepe's got. I think Arteta is doing what Unai Emery was unable to do with Pepe, in so much as saying, "This is our system. This is the English Premier League. This is not France. This is not your old team. You're not going to get a free run, a free reign,
right.
as it
Yeah,
were, just to stay up. You have to come back. Hence, you've been benched for the last two games. I've seen some tweets going around, Ray, about Pepe's better than Nelson. Why is Nelson playing? I think everyone's missing the point. No doubt about it. Pepe is a far greater attacker than
yeah,
Nelson, but only
yeah,
because of his experience and so on and so forth. However, you know, no team has 11 attackers.
yeah,
Even Aubameyang, like we saw in the last three games, he's providing cover for his left back. So if Aubameyang can do it, don't care who you are, you can all do it. And I think it kind of worked, and it kind of substantiates my point further, in so much as, why did I'll ask you this question because it's only the two of us. Like, why did Mikel bring off Pepe on the 56th minute?
well, I know why because I've been taking notes. He lo- he lost the ball in the 59 minute. He lost the ball in the 60th minute. That is my reasoning why Pepe was taken off. He was not holding on to the ball when he's there as an out ball, and we're trying to relieve pressure. He wasn't doing that. Arteta made the point right there and then. If you don't do your job that you're supposed to do in the team, you will be taken off.
Very interesting perspective. I didn't think any of that. I did not think any of that. Second half, we played up until the 46th minute, high tempo, you know, exquisite one touch passing, a lot of pressure, did not allow Man United to play. Mikel Arteta, as a lot of the Arsenal fans and the pundits, what have you, claim we do not have the energy levels to play. In my opinion, the only reason Pepe was brought off because Mikel's, in my opinion, said to them at half time, "We're 2-0 up. Now sit back." At at half time, for instance, we had 60% possession. We had 325 passes to United's 235. Now, knowing well, Pepe is not the defensive minded player yet. He doesn't have the
Correct.
defensive side of his game.
Yep.
Mikel brought on Reese to drill home that point yet again to Pepe. Now, the halftime team talk was all about, let's sit back, let's invite the pressure, let's manage the game management. So we've done the whole high pressing, high tempo, and it's paid dividends. It's reaped its fruits in terms of 2-0 up. Now
Yeah.
we're not going to attack. If they
Yeah.
score, then go back to first half tactics. But just let's support our defense. Let's just take the foot off the gas,
Yeah.
and that's why I think he took him off.
Meanwhile, I'm Ole Gunnar Solskjaer across the hallway, and I'm saying, let's get a hold of the ball, let's build the play up, let's play in their half, let's increase the tempo, and let's see if we can get a goal back. So both philosophies played into what we saw in the second half.
I personally don't feel or believe that United did anything different in the second half. You know what the difference was? We allowed them to play because at half time, at the full time whistle, suddenly we had 455 passes compared to United's 459. So they
Right.
had
So
more
I had
passes. So
balanced up.
yeah, because we took our foot off the gas, and
Hmm.
guess what? That then changed the possession to 50-50. Because I think Mikel knew that because we'd inflicted a lot of damage to them, they're gonna, they naturally they're gonna come out more. But
Hmm.
what a great training opportunity for our defence and midfield to play together and then hit on the counter. And therefore, that's why I believe that Man United, they did not up their game. It's because we allowed them to play.
I'm gonna say they did by about 10 or 15%, and we also allowed them to play a little bit. And in that way, things got balanced up overall. But we had done the damage in the first half.
Absolutely. And I think that also it was another clever move for us to sit back and absorb pressure to preserve our energy levels.
Yeah,
Because nowhere in any way, and David Luiz said this as well, our fitness is not quite there. And when they're saying that, I don't believe any of the players are unfit. When they're saying that, I'll ask you first.
yeah.
What do you think David Luiz means and Mikel Arteta means when they're saying our fitness levels are not there yet?
For the kind of game, intensive game of pressing, high intensity that Arteta wants to instill into the team.
100%, I agree. I 100% agree with that. Primarily, we are unable to play the type of football Mikel Arteta has in his, mind's eye for 90 minutes.
Yeah,
And, it just goes to show, doesn't it? Again, credit to Mikel Arteta, because you would have thought, not just, statistically, theoretically, on paper, Unai Emery has achieved much more as a manager than Mikel Arteta.
yeah,
Fact. Nobody could
yeah,
deny that. I would have thought Unai Emery and his backroom staff would understand, okay, this is our philosophy, but our players are unable to instill that, rather than all these extra training sessions, getting our top names to play in friendlies, like pre-season friendlies, and basically tiring them out. And we saw it time and time again. Whereas Mikel's idea, unlike Unai's, is let's play to the players' strength here. Let's not just get them all, gung ho. And we saw it with Laka. He had to come off fatigue. It was a question between him or Torreira, and Torreira just, outlasted him. So he stayed on. But yeah, credit to Mikel for just saying,
yeah.
or if he did say, just chill out. We know our attacking game is on point. Now we need to lift the bar, the level with our defensive midfield game management. Let's see what we can do there. And I think if we would have conceded, we would have gone back to all guns blazing. That's just
Yeah,
my
and you can see Torreira right at the end of the game having to take on extra liquids and all that good stuff to help him get to the end of the game and probably prevent cramping and all of that good stuff. Um, yeah, that's all good stuff, Hope. So let's go back to the notes. On 8 minutes, let's talk about the goal. And what we have to say is Ozil had an instrumental part in tracking back, breaking up the play right about our right back area. The ball gets spilled in the midfield. Xhaka makes a mistake, but he pretty much cleans up his own mistake. The ball goes to Kolasinac, and then there's a 1-2 between Aubameyang and Kolasinac. Kolasinac is now driving into the box, and he plays a lovely cutback, uh, perfectly diverted off Lindelof's heel. And now it comes to Pepe. What are you thinking?
I
First
thought
of all, you can't believe the ball has just come perfectly to him, right?
there was a couple of things I was thinking that wow, Pepe's actually gone forward because we had another chance like that and he stayed on the corner end of the 18-yard box, but he
Yes.
actually he attacked the penalty spot, like the 12-yard area. And I just thought, please take the extra touch, please take the extra touch, because he hasn't played in the last two
Yeah.
games, right?
Yeah.
Or he got a few minutes right out of Chelsea, but do you know what I mean? I thought, no, you don't, maybe it's too soon. But when he hit it first time, that is hard to do. That is because not only is the ball deflective, it's coming at you at pace, and literally, he put his foot through it, and he didn't just put his foot through it because if he had, it would have gone straight. He put his
Yeah.
foot through it with curl.
Bro.
So you
Did he
know,
did he chop it into the ground like Ozil does a little bit? I thought he hits the
ooh,
top of the ball. Maybe pedantic at this point, but it's a goal.
yeah, I mean the way he hit it, it was, and that's why I said, pedantic is, just as what I said about if it was straight, if it went straight through the laces, it would have gone maybe on the right hand side, but he sent it back to David De Gea's left, well, right hand
Yeah.
side actually,
Who's
um, of
he's
the goal.
gambling with his dive a little bit. The hair. He's got nothing else to do but
It was
gamble.
it was absolutely beautiful finish, like top draw, and it just shows. Going back to our last podcast, there's a player. There's a player in there. He just needs that training, and with Mikel, I'd bet my last £1 on the fact that he's going to be receiving that training more and more and more.
Yeah. Listen, things are going quite well at this point. We look around the squad. Uh, Mikel Arteta said he knew how to make Ozil tick. I bet a lot of fans were thinking, okay, all right then, we want to see that because I was certainly thinking that way. And Ozil, you give credit to the player when he plays well. I've not given credit to the player when he's been lost, when he's gone sick, when he hasn't been available for games in the last 2 or 3 years. But give credit to the player that he is. Um, Mikel Arteta seems to have gotten a tune out of Ozil, and whenever Pepe's in the team, I think he can only benefit from that.
I mean, to all the haters out there and all the fanboys of Ozil, it's just, to me, Ozil in the last three games is a massive success story. I mean, credit he played 90 minutes. All that, forgive the French, all that bullshit about him not being fit enough, him having injuries under Unai Emery, being left out on the bench after all what he's endured after for those 18 months, the 18-month tenure of Unai Emery, to come back and put in the performance he had the last three games, the way he's performed is just been phenomenal. And it just goes to show how important man management is in today's
Yes,
modern football era.
yes,
And again, playing to the players' strengths. And yet again, Mikel Arteta, walking his talk, not just saying these things. I was apprehensive like you. I'm sure all the Ozil haters were. I don't know if you've noticed in the last two games at least, the Emirates have been singing his name.
yes,
And what does that mean to all the Ozil haters? Just like you said, credit where it's due. Now, I know there's a lot of controversy surrounding Ozil, and there always has been, and there always will be. However, it just goes to show he's got a heck of a lot more left in him to give. I mean, he played 90 minutes today. Let's not forget Ceballos was on the bench.
yeah,
Tonight,
yeah,
Ceballos was on the bench, but Mikel kept Ozil on that pitch, even when in the second half we implemented that defensive, counter-attacking,
Approach.
philosophy. Yeah,
Yeah.
approach. So, you know, Ozil playing like this, as you say, Mikel is getting more than a tune out of him. Ozil just seems like a brand new player, and that smile coming off the pitch as well, clapping the crowd. And let's not forget, just a few games ago, you
Yeah.
know, him throwing his gloves, you know,
Yeah.
um, in frustration, and now,
Yep.
and now look at him, and even more so, that is after Lundberg said, "You behave like that, you don't play."
Yeah.
But Mikel, again, true to his words, every player starts off on a clean sheet. And
Yeah.
look, just look, just see. So it goes kind of back to we can tie it into your earlier point when you were worried about having seen four, attacking players against
Attacking players.
United.
Yep.
But he's surprising all of us. I mean, I'll put my hands up. Ozil's definitely surprising me. And hey ho, like we know we're not going to go out and buy an Ozil equivalent. So if he can carry on putting performances like that, like in for us, then wow, what's
Yeah. I mean, a couple of very, very intricate areas where two midfielders are converging on him. He's able to use some quick, intricate feet to get past those two midfielders, feeding Pepe. And then on the 10th minute, I think it might have been that move. Pepe crosses the ball for Aubameyang with a volley, and maybe he could have done a little bit better with. And we're all thinking we do need that second goal because of what happened on Sunday.
Absolutely. That one touch football was just exquisite. And I don't know if you've noticed, it normally generally starts with Ozil. He
Yes.
somehow, he he receives the ball, plays the clever, like you said, he went through two players, quick, some magic with his feet, gets
Yep.
himself out of trouble. Suddenly, the attack minded players know, right, we're onto something here. They just have that belief and faith in him. He's
The
just
ball's
taken
going
on
to
two
come.
players
Yep.
or a player, something's about to happen. I better get my ass forward. And yeah, unlucky Aubameyang with that, on the volley, he hit the ball in row Z. But hey, we were 1-0 up, and I think because it was the 10th minute, we could afford that chance.
Yeah. So we're on top, and we get to the 27th minute, the 30th minute, that golden time. At least I was thinking at this point, um, do we go on from there? Hopes. Were you thinking the same thing? Is it going to be exactly like the Chelsea game?
I wasn't. The commentator said the same thing. I wasn't. Because of going back to my earlier point, because of Xhaka and Kolasinac. You know, I could not see. After the 30th minute against Chelsea, you saw they were, they started to have more possession, but United just they were all over the place. And what I did worry was if Solskjaer changes this now, how are we going to react? But
Hmm.
as the clock was ticking down and there were no changes by Solskjaer, any formation or anything like that, I thought, wow, how long are we going to keep this up for? And that question was answered in the 48th minute after half time. But I didn't think that, no.
And now that you're just talking about Solskjaer, I'm thinking to myself, we have a clear line through both Lampard and Solskjaer through Arsenal and their performances 3 days apart. And I'm starting to think Lampard is the better coach over Solskjaer at this point. I see
Why?
your
Because
process. You're processing that.
yeah, absolutely. Why? Because he made the tactical changes.
He made the tactical changes needed to overcome their difficulties against a similar Arsenal performance.
To me, it's about consistency, though. I mean, I believe they lost today, didn't they? Chelsea.
Chelsea drew 1-1.
Sorry, Chelsea drew 1-1. Yeah, sorry, they did. Um,
Could have lost the game. Probably should have lost the game. Lampard has admitted that.
and and that's just it. I think when people are learning their trade, anyone, it could be you or I. Um, there are moments of brilliance and excellence, and there are moments of pure madness. Just for example, Lampard goes and changes his formation 3 times the other day against us, and today they come away with a draw. So it's
Mhm.
and they've had some horrible defeats as well. I think time will reveal more who is the better man and who's got the better personnel, and you know how much pressure is being put on them. What levels of support are they getting? The backroom training team. I think I just ultimately it's Lampard. You know, at the moment who's eking ahead factually. That
Yeah.
they've got more points on the table, but the season consists of 38 games plus there's European games, Cup games. So I
I'm
believe
just
Chelsea beat United as well, didn't they, earlier on in the season?
United beat Chelsea 4-0 in a freak kind of game. The first
Right,
game of the season.
that's right,
United got a goal up and it just went to hell on Chelsea
that's right.
at that
And
point.
it's Premier League football. Like a lot of high-end sports, it's very fickle. Just that one thing can change it. And I
You
believe
can you can lose 4-0 and it'd be fine margins as well in
absolutely.
terms of losing that first goal changes
To,
everything.
to me, the changes of Lampard, it wasn't just down to his number two, Jody Morris, but I think that is something he picked up from Mourinho, because that is what
Yep.
Mourinho would do, and
Yep.
that's what in his peak. I used to love seeing that about Mourinho.
Yeah.
The little bits of paper going on to players, and right now let's change. Yeah, so on and so forth. So I think the jury's out for me on which
Yeah.
one's better.
Boots, TX, thanks for coming in.
Hey Boots,
So now we're winning the league and the double, but no treble apparently.
let's do it, Boots.
We can't win the league, but maybe an FA Cup and Europa League double.
Any silverware would just be fantastic after the way this season's going. Any
I I,
silver.
I think that might be tongue firmly in cheek, Boots. But we're gonna allow ourselves a smile here. You know what I mean? Thanks for joining us, Boots. Do appreciate it. We're talking about this game being quite similar to the Liverpool game. We get to the magical 30 minutes, hopes, and there is a couple of fouls. Harry Maguire, he's walking that tightrope. He fouls Ozil. Ozil drops the shoulder, slips to the left, and Maguire takes his feet out. And then there is the similar kind of thing with Lacazette. Lacazette seems to, I think he seems to relish these kind of challenges, these kind of duels in midfield. But Harry Maguire is walking that tightrope. So I'm thinking this is Manchester United's version of what Chelsea tried to do on Sunday. Um, any comments there?
Yeah, I noticed they around the 40 minute mark, the tactical fouls were increasing from United.
Yeah,
But I thought the referee, unlike the other day, handled that really well. Um, you know, and I think it therefore put a stop to Man United trying that so much. I did also notice a lot of the players walking off. Even though a foul had been made, they were not crowding the referee to try and get a player booked or sent off. I
I
think
did see that. I did see that happen at one time. Aubameyang, Lacazette almost hounding the referee, but that was the only instance.
absolutely, and I think the other guy guilty of it was Kolasinac. I mean, I think he's generally always done it, but even Xhaka backed off. So again, improvements, and that's something we have to add to our game. Um, because I didn't see much of it happening. I mean, Xhaka tried to do something similar around I think it was about the 85th or 88th minute when he gave away a free kick for doing something similar. to Man United. But yeah, credit to the ref for nipping it in the bud,
Yeah,
and showing that.
they always say the best referees go unnoticed, and for the most part, I did not notice this referee. So, to me, that tells me he had a decent game.
Yeah, I can't really fault any of his decisions, or I cannot, think, oh, that was a howler. Like, how did you miss that? He was firm but fair.
On 35 minutes, similar to something that happened in the Chelsea game, I noticed Arteta. They were telling he was telling the players to play the ball faster, quicker transition. When the camera cuts to the sideline, I could see him gesturing to pop the ball over the top into the corners, get him turned around. So things I like to see. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, and I think it goes back to our earlier point of our players currently not having the focus, concentration, and the attacking prowess or the mindset to maintain that for 90 minutes, and therefore Arteta needs to remind them of not to sit back, but hey, let's keep on going, let's keep on going.
We continue to play quite well, and then we come to Pepe's shot, rasping curler, hits the upright through David De Gea's poor clearance.
That was a phenomenal curl. Like he got his foot under the ball, and again
Yeah,
it was coming to him at pace, and the way he dug it out and it curled,
wonderful
that
technique.
that was exquisite. That was phenomenal to watch. Just to see how, just to even have the mindset to go for that, because it was to David De Gea's closest side as well.
Yeah,
It's not like he had to go down far, but you just saw all the United back four, like all the United defense, they just stopped and they were just thought, what the hell? Like,
yeah.
kudos for just going for it. It would have been phenomenal if that would have gone
And
in. That just would have been.
we know that Pepe has wonderful technique. We witnessed that with the dead ball situations in the Europa League earlier this season with those two wonderful free kicks. And we do know that from his Lille days, he can hit a really, really good ball from his left side coming in on the inside left. Now what we've seen with Pepe's game is him crowding when all the plays on the left hand side, he's bombing in from the right and being that last striker of the three front players, being that guy in the penalty box, like you said, Hopes. He's getting there. He's in the right spot. I think that's the last part of his game offensively in terms of scoring goals that he needs to bring to the table. There's plenty of things he needs to understand about defensively and positional awareness. I remember you talking about before, but we have a player there.
No, I think anybody would be crazy to doubt Pepe's ability. I just think he needs to speed up to the understanding of the Premiership. I mean, on the 18th minute, to it ties in with your point nicely. There
Mm-hmm.
was a cross. I can't remember from Kolasinac or from Aubameyang from the left. And this time, Pepe, he stayed out. He didn't attack the ball like he did for his goal.
Yeah.
And that kind of baffled me because I thought, hey, you've just scored 10 minutes earlier
Yeah,
by,
in a slightly different position. Push in
by
there more,
yeah,
you
by
know?
attacking that place. So
Mhm.
why wouldn't you do that again?
Yeah.
And Ozil was to his left, and Ozil looked at him as well, kind of like, that was it. Yeah, it was Aubameyang crossed it because no, not Aubameyang, Lacazette. Lacazette crossed it because then Lacazette apologised, like he put his hand up to say, "Oh, I didn't realise you were gonna, stay back. I thought you were gonna be
Get
in the
in
centre."
there. Yeah.
So, as well as Pepe's tactical awareness and his game management, I think there needs to be that understanding between the front three as well. Um, I think him and Aubameyang have got more of an understanding than him and Lacazette. But it's yeah. I mean, you know, I'm really excited to see what more Pepe has in his locker, because I think he has, you know, buckets to give. It
Yeah,
just needs to be coaxed out of him.
yeah. And as he transitioned from what I'm going to say was counter-attacking football with Lille, it's not going to be the case as much with Arsenal. We're going to have more possession. We're not going to be lightning quick on the counter-attack. It's something that we want to get better at, because we have been snail pace slow in terms of moving ball through midfield with Emery. That's something that Pepe needs to be aware of. The other thing, hopes maybe I'm just making an excuse here for why he did not do that. He may be a little bit worried about his defensive responsibilities that Arteta wants from him as well. So there's a little bit of that stuck on the fence, whether it's stick or twist. You know what I mean? But in time, that may come as he comes to understand more of what Arteta needs from him.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't, yeah, I can't say much against that, because I wholeheartedly agree in the sense he's still working it out. He's still, when to go, when to stay back, and where to go, how much to cut in from the right to the penalty spot, and, without getting caught out on the counter. Because I don't think that Pepe's defensive game exists at all, if I'm honest with
Yeah,
you. His idea is, I've seen it from the earlier games at the Emirates at the start of the season, where he would never track back. And I thought, oh gosh, no, we've got an Ozil part two here. To
yeah,
then tracking back, and now he's at the phase where he tracks back, but he'll just cut the pass off to the opposition player.
yeah.
He will
He's a
not.
body.
Yeah, I can't actually remember seeing Pepe slide tackle to defend.
Yeah,
Correct me
yeah.
if I'm wrong, but you
And
know,
maybe that's all you really need is just to get a body there to cut off the passing lanes for the opposition as well.
yeah, and to provide Ainsley with that much needed cover,
Hmm.
um, just like Aubameyang does for Saka, or even for Kolasinac. If he gets that in his game, then yeah, because like you said, again with his last team, in my opinion, I believe he just had a free rein. Get the
Yeah,
ball, just run down, cut in from the right on your left foot, goal. But
yeah.
you know,
He's
our
come to a
opposition,
more difficult league as well.
yeah, and our opposition are much more, clued up against that kind of stuff. He'll still he scored a goal. Um, I forget again when he cut in when he ran down the right, cut in, and he curled it in. I forget against who he did
West
that.
Ham.
West Ham, that's it. Yeah, West
Yeah,
Ham. So it's there in him, but he just needs to mix it up. So he's developing, and hey, what better manager than Mikel to have, to develop that.
yeah. I mean, I think he's had 6 months to adapt. I think we're going to see the best of him in the second part of the season. He's adapting, hopefully, to England. He has the technique. Nobody can doubt that. It's all there in the locker, especially I'm going to say from the left side of the penalty area, penalty spot, all the way out to the right wing. Right wing, he has got it in his locker, and I think Pepe is a player who could be frightening in the second part of the season.
And I think that's down to Mikel Arteta's man management, because it seems to me, with the benefit of hindsight, that Unai Emery just put him out there to sink or swim, and he just had like a clean slate in which to just, okay, show me what you can do, show me what you can do,
Hmm.
with a lack of instruction management. Just like Ainsley Maitland-Niles, who was there to fill a gap for Unai Emery, um, Chambers to a certain extent, Xhaka, Torreira. But now, with the instructions and the technical prowess that Mikel Arteta brings to Arsenal, definitely agree with you that there is so much more to come from him. If you can see Ainsley Maitland-Niles making runs towards the halfway, the halfway circle, the kickoff spot, then
Yeah.
what? can't Pepe do? And once he adds that to his game, no doubt about it, he'll be one of the first names on the team sheet alongside Aubameyang. But it's going to take time because suddenly he's now getting the instructions, and he needs to develop that more.
Yeah, yeah. Now we're coming to the 42nd minute, the second goal. I'm thinking we do need this second goal right up from the 30th minute on. I'm thinking we need this second goal. It's going to be a little bit nervous if we go in at 1-0 half time. An Ozil move to Pepe brings about a corner. Pepe takes the corner, plays it very close. We have yet again, I think we talked about this on Sunday. I remember the days of George Graham. I don't know if this is something they're practicing on the training field right now. I would think that it is. Flicked on headers from the near post. And Lacazette flicks it on. De Gea can't hold the ball. It drops to super striker Socrates. He dispatches it into the top of the net. Um, a goal that we needed, but a really well worked goal because of the move from Ozil to Pepe, which was something I was considering. Is that going to work? Because Ozil and Nelson had worked quite well against Chelsea, but here we are. He's for me, he was the man in the match in the first half, certainly.
Yeah, couple of talking points there. Um, First and foremost, a exquisite, a really beautiful ball in from the corner from Pepe. Again, the curl he has on that left foot is just really beautiful. Something else. I haven't seen that in many players, for a while. I know
Hmm.
David Beckham used to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah, just absolutely beautiful to watch. I actually think, my second point, that Lacazette was not meant to header that ball because Louise was running it. David Luiz was running it, and I think
didn't see that.
yeah, it was actually David Luiz stopped and let Laka flick it back on the head. At one point, I thought these two were going to collide because David Luiz lost his marker. He knew. If you watch it on the replay, David
I'm
Luiz
gonna watch it.
he's around the 6 yard box, right? He's around the 6 yard box. He's with his with the opposition defender, and he waits, and then as soon as the ball comes in, he goes towards the post. But Lacker's come out and he's flicked it on. Now, how dare Arsenal have so many players in the 6 yard box? I cannot remember the last time on a corner we have attacked the 6 yard box like that. I just thought, what the hell is going on here? Because normally our attackers, even the defenders who come up for the corner, they're all huddled around the top 18-yard line mark or a bit further into the penalty box, but not into the 6 yard box. I was like,
Right there. Yeah,
how dare they? And it just proved it paid off with Socrates' scissor kick straight into the roof of the net. Absolutely beautiful, almost like United froze. Because I don't, again, United thought, we'll sit back and they're not gonna come in, they're not gonna come in. But within seconds, we were all in. We had about five players inside, in the 6 yard box.
yeah.
David De Gea, off the flick on. I think David De Gea's positioning was all wrong because he could have potentially caught the ball, but he hit it out with his two hands, and he literally set up Socrates because he was so close. And
Yeah,
yeah, he just couldn't miss that. If he was further out, like under previous regimes or previous managers, yeah, the ball would have gone over the crossbar. But because Socrates was so close, it was a given. But yeah,
I
beautiful.
wonder. I wonder if that was something that Mikel Arteta has noticed in our game. Are we maybe it's something, maybe it's nothing.
Well, he
But
did say small changes, big effects.
yeah, exactly. And that's what I really, really like about what Arteta's done in the last week. He hasn't gone in and given players two bookfuls of things to do. Hey, you're doing this wrong, do that. It hasn't been that way. It's been small, small things, small changes. Because I think he knew that maybe we talked about as well on Sunday, the football IQ of some of these players is not really, really high.
I mean, what Mikel Arteta doing with these players is just beyond my wildest dreams. I would never have thought Ainsley Maitland-Niles could do what he's doing. I would never have thought, although I knew it was in David Luiz, the way he's dispatching the ball is just so beautiful. And, the likes of Ozil, um, the Torreira, just in the matter of two games, like tonight was our third game. I know that, but,
Yeah,
small changes, yet again, it substantiates my point where Mikel Arteta is backing up everything he says in his press conferences. Small things, high energy, commitment, purpose, dedication,
yeah,
structure. Um, let's build on the last performance, and I just see a constant improvement, and it's so good. It's frightening. It's
yeah,
frightening
yeah.
because it's like
Uh,
we're
we
not
go.
sorry, we're not even playing to our potential in terms of being able to play the style of football
Yeah,
Mikel wants to play for 90 minutes, and
yeah.
we just turned over a great club 2-0 within the first half, and then managed to manage the game to
Manage
not
the game.
yeah,
Yep.
to not concede a goal, to keep a clean sheet. Credit to Leno as well. He came back from his blunder against Chelsea. Was confident,
Yep.
and it just shows like with the right man at the helm, everything's possible.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great point with Bernd Leno. Mentality is a really, really big thing in professional sports. And for Bernd Leno to, okay, he knows he effed up on Sunday. For him to come back and not let that affect his game, uh, you could say he didn't have a whole lot to do, but he did save a Maguire header right at the end of the half, which I think was very, very important as well.
Question: um, What was Leno doing differently today for you, other than that
Um,
great save, as you've just said?
nothing, nothing. I think he's been one of our better goalkeepers all season. Did you see something different?
You didn't notice anything he was doing different today?
I did not, to be honest.
Okay, it was a trick question. I noticed on numerous occasions today he was playing the ball a heck of a lot quicker. A heck of a lot quicker. Okay, we were still playing out the back and we were doing so well, but he was throwing the ball out. He was, he really, in his third game under Mikel Arteta, he knew when to kick the ball and he knew when to throw the ball and he knew when to play it short.
Yeah,
And I just thought, wow, like, after the blunder, you're now, instead of going into your shell, you're actually taking on board, some of the fans' feedback as well. 'Cause
yeah,
that's a massive gripe
yeah,
when I'm at the Emirates, like, just get rid of it, kick it long. A lot of the fans I hear saying, and I saw that tonight, and I thought, wow, this is, if you watch the highlights, I personally feel he wasn't holding the ball. I cannot remember an instance
yeah.
in that whole match when, I felt, oh my God, you missed the chance, or you should have thrown it out sooner.
Yeah, good point. Some more of my notes for the first half. I thought we were not afraid to knock the ball long, especially David Luiz in defensive areas. So we're not trying to play out the ball as much. We're not at that point. We don't have the players to do that. And then other things, I thought we were hunting impact similar to pressing. We were also hunting the ball down, two or three players and converging on one Manchester United player, and that was the hunger to get the ball back.
That was like watching City in our last two games when we don't have the ball, unless we're doing what we did in the second half, counter attacking difference, but we just did not allow them to have the ball in the first half, and that's why it wasn't that Solskjaer got it wrong. in my opinion. Let's get
Yeah,
that first and foremost. It was not Solskjaer who got it wrong. Our players, credit to them, like you just said, they were hunting down, they were pressing. The press was happening from the front three. They knew when to press, they knew when to back off, they knew when to track back. They supported the midfield, and literally for vast amounts of the first half, our line was so high. David Luiz and Xhaka and Torreira kept on shouting at the players, just keep coming like forward, keep coming forward. And even Leno, if there were any balls going over the top, he was coming to the top of the penalty box to pick them up, head them over, the opposition's attacking players who were making the runs in, so they wouldn't get the ball. And we were just
yeah,
peppering, we were peppering Man United, and it
yeah,
was just so wonderful to watch. I mean, David Luiz now has three outlets. He either looks for Torreira, he either looks for Aubameyang, or he either looks for Ozil. Now, in Unai Emery's regime, it was always a case of the midfield are too far ahead of the defence. There's no link up play between defence and midfield. It's just going defence to attack. He
yeah,
was fixated on the two fullbacks making the runs, and they didn't have the ability because they were too worried about the defensive cover. And what a transformation!
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
David Luiz's balls tonight were really, really something else. It's what I remember seeing him when he first came into the Premier League, how he used to play, and he was
Yeah.
really pumped. Did you see? Did it come through on your feed when he was actually having a go at the crowd and he was saying, "Come on, cheer us, chant us on." I think it was about the 75th or 80th minute.
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah,
Boots TX. I think we're talking about, get the ball out of there. We don't have the players to play out. I mean, that's common sense. If it ain't working, try something else. But that's what he's been instructed to do by the coach, and Arteta has been pragmatic that way. You know, when we didn't have the ball, we kept our shape and did better without the ball versus United without the ball. So it's all about shape, really, for Arteta. And I think, hats off to what Arteta has done for the last two games. And going to talk about Ainsley Maitland-Niles, Saka, Kolasinac. Our fullbacks really have stepped up to the point of where we're not really worried about Ainsley Maitland-Niles at this point. Under Emery, I was worried about Ainsley Maitland-Niles if he would have a future with the club. I think these younger players, especially Saka, Ainsley Maitland-Niles, they're starting to take um, on board what Arteta is telling them to do.
most definitely. And I think what Mikel Arteta is asking them to do is play simple football. Just what I've noticed with Ainsley is he's just looking for the most simple pass, and when he has the opportunity, run towards and inside the halfway, inside the centre circle. Um, and again,
To
going back to
play,
your
play inside a little bit, Hubs.
absolutely. So you're
Right,
actually making up the extra midfield man.
the triangles and such. Yeah,
Yeah, because we all know Ainsley Maitland-Niles is a midfielder by trade.
yeah,
So he has the acumen and he has the understanding of the game. But at the moment, he's helping out the club and filling a gap. But the biggest thing I've noticed under Mikel Arteta, how he's developing Ainsley Maitland-Niles, just play it short, play it simple, play it fast. Because I don't know if you remember, just a few weeks ago, and for a long period of last season as well, Ainsley Maitland-Niles was the target for the opposition because of his
mm,
lack of defending ability. I think
yeah,
Ainsley Maitland-Niles also is playing so well at the moment, primarily because he isn't being made to defend.
yeah.
I can't remember seeing him having to defend tonight, even against
Principally because of what the wingers are being asked to do.
even against Chelsea. He had very few, like, he had to make very few tackles. And when he did, he would just like see the ball out, for a corner or just get rid of it. Again, simplicity is key. Whereas I think with Unai Emery, Ainsley was so fixated because of the instructions he was receiving to as you said, him and Saka make the fullback runs, or him and Kolasinac. They'd go
Yeah,
so far forward, and then they'd have nothing to run back
yeah,
into, and then they wouldn't
because
have the cover.
the
Or if
offensive part of the game was a large part of their responsibilities.
absolutely, and if he did get forward, he even if he could get back because of his young age,
Athleticism.
he would just be all over the place because he'd just be knackered. So he'd make a silly mistake, and it would just result in the opposition scoring a
Yeah,
goal. And
yeah,
that's when I look, I was really looking at Ainsley Maitland-Niles today, and I was just seeing um, I kept asking myself, why has he changed? And the same answer kept coming up because he's playing it short. He's playing 1-2. He's playing triangles. Even when I was at Emirates um, on Sunday against Chelsea, I was seeing it, and the way he had Willian in his pocket. And today, Rashford couldn't do anything because every time he could, Ainsley was there. The other thing I think Ainsley's doing well, he's coming closer to the forward winger or the forward attacker, so he's not giving them space to then run around him. So again, in a very short space of time, he's really now taking that role and owning it, and actually asking Bellerin questions. Hey, if you're going to come back in this team,
yeah,
you're going to have to do what I'm doing, which is a
yeah.
really good problem for us to have.
Competition. Now we're going to see competition when these players get better and come back from injury. And like Boots has said here, he's not injured anymore. So we have a player playing. He was playing with a knock that finally became an injury. Hopefully, he's overcome those injuries now. We can see the best of him for the rest of the season. And Tierney's probably going to walk back into the side as well. But what a job Saka has done on the left hand side. I worried about that kid, but he's been immense versus Everton and Chelsea, and even today filling in.
Yeah, I mean, just before we go on to Saka, another thing Ainsley Maitland-Niles is doing, just slipped my mind, is oh nah, sorry, I missed it. Oh no, that was it. When I was watching him today, the question came into my mind: who's the £50 million right back here, him or Wan-Bissaka? That's how good
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
thought Ainsley was tonight. And then moving on to Saka, right? Saka, he's got the pace, he's got um, the ability to go forward, he's got a cross on him. But you see, this is why I'm so glad, because I shrieked when I saw Kolasinac's name on the team sheet prior to kickoff, an
yep,
hour to kickoff,
yep,
and I thought, no way, you can't defend. But actually, he proved me wrong. As I said at the start of our tonight's show, he was fearless. He's like a lion when he runs forward, is Kolasinac, which Saka doesn't have. And another thing Saka doesn't have is when he comes back to defend, when he came on, just after he came on tonight, he played David Luiz a ball, and he played it fast, really quick. That David Luiz, he couldn't control it, and he had to like kick it out for a corner. Well, it rebounded off his boot, and then Luiz like had a quiet word with him. Maybe that was just nerves or what have you.
hmm
But yeah, he's definitely, again, like Ainsley Maitland-Niles. I'd rather have him playing the way he is now rather than not have him. He's putting in a shift, and that's why, going back to what you said earlier, Tierney will easily walk into that squad and be our number one left back. But yeah, Saka is, if anything, Saka is learning that when he does get the left back role, not the left winger role, once Tierney's back, or if he plays with Kolasinac, what to
yeah,
do when he runs back. Because I don't know if you noticed tonight, when after he came on and he was defending, he runs so far and then he stops. He's like stuck in the mud. He's like, oh, I dare not put in a boot, or I dare not challenge. I can't remember him making a slide tackle or winning back a ball. He's very clever in so much as he will intercept, like Ainsley Maitland-Niles is starting to do, and
yeah,
that then just starts off a 1-2 with him and Aubameyang, and it's allowing a relationship to form between him and Aubameyang. That there's some trust there. That if you make the run, I'll feed you the ball. I know you can cross it in, and also between Saka and Lacazette, in so much as when he fed Lacazette the cross and Lacazette headed it in. I think that was in Europe
Yeah,
against Standard Liège. So yeah, I think at his age, there's only better and more to come, and he's an asset,
yeah.
at that age.
And of course, I'm not going to talk about established players who are doing their job well right now, like Torreira, because we have come to expect that level of performance from Torreira. I'm not going to mention Bern Leno too much because he's playing at a very, very good level for us. So we should highlight those players who have been consistent for us throughout the season and have done the job for us every week. We give them a mention. Torreira has been tireless there in midfield.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you touched on Torreira tonight because that his miss, when he missed, he took on about
Yeah,
three Man United players, and it was instinctual. Because he spun and he just like Willock missed. And I actually then felt sorry for Willock's miss against Chelsea because it was very hard to do. It wasn't, yeah, in slow motion on the replays, it looks like, oh, he just had to put his foot through it, and he tried. But I think, just to, all night he was Torreira was splitting up the play. He was defending tight onto the opposition attackers. He was feeding the likes of Ozil, Lacazette, Aubameyang, Pepe, and then suddenly he's at the D on the penalty box, and he does a couple of exquisite twists and turns, some really prolific playing football, really wonderfully, and he finds himself in that position. I really wanted that ball to go, and you could see he was disappointed.
yeah,
Um, and then we
yeah.
take it towards the latter end of the
Just
match
wide.
where, as you pointed out, when he was given some extra juice, just to, shore himself up. I believe he wanted to come off, but then when he saw Laka struggling, he sent a message to the bench saying, "Look, if he's
Yeah,
struggling, take him off, and I'll stay on." And that's a big thing. That's a big statement because United were on the ascendancy. We're getting tired. There's so much we can hold out. But he said, no, keep me on. And, yeah, I just thought, wow, hats off to you. So it just goes to show again, if you get the right man at the helm, a good manager, and he plays to the players' strengths,
yeah,
this whole team is just looking
yeah.
rejuvenated,
You
revitalized.
you you don't have fullbacks who are getting exposed for any potential deficiencies they have in their game. They're pushing forward. We're on the front foot. Our two midfielders are working together. Whatever you like to say about Xhaka and Torreira, my belief is they do work together as a partnership. And then you have wingers protecting our fullbacks, whether it be Aubameyang, who we've seen in the Chelsea game, getting back, and also Pepe or Nelson doing a similar job. So, it's my belief that the players can raise each other's confidence. Um, Not every player is going to play well in every game. Who's struggling in that team? Do you think Lacazette maybe is struggling a little bit?
I would say that Lacazette is an easy target because he's missed chances. Even tonight, he missed a chance. Um, I would still say Xhaka because it's these balls he keeps playing back to the defence. There was a moment, I think it was around the 60th minute, when we were attacking. I think it was then, but it was definitely like he spun, and the crowd. We were in the final third of United's half, and he spun two players, and he had his back to the United goal, and the Arsenal faithful, they were expecting him to play the ball back, but actually he played the ball forward to Aubameyang, and everyone was like, I could hear the, in the crowd. So I think Xhaka is struggling in the sense of his mobility, his ability to pass forwards, his Um, he's a his ability to his lack of ability to attack. I mean, just to go off topic, I was watching Wolves earlier on, in their game against
Yeah,
Watford, and Decore scored tonight, and
yes.
just Decore knows when to go forward and knows when to stay back, knows when to pass forward, knows when to pass back,
He
and
he's a player I'm sweet on. Do you think we could maybe go after him?
I would love if we went after him because I think he would easily walk into our team ahead of Xhaka.
Hmm.
Xhaka will, again, because we got Mikel now as a manager, Xhaka will get there, I believe, because he has it in him. But because he's got Arsene Wenger, Freddie Ljungberg, and Unai Emery's voice in his head, that needs beating out of him.
Yeah,
And then he can do what Decore does. He's definitely got him in him because he does it for the Swiss national team. So I
yeah,
would say Laka is the obvious choice because he hasn't been performing. But just because he's not scoring, one thing I noticed about Laka and Aubameyang, what they're doing is if Lacazette drops back to pick up the ball, Aubameyang will go out and out in the centre, and they'll interchange play. They've done it
yes.
3 or 4 times tonight. It was more evident, and I love that about Lacazette. Okay, he missed the chances, but what he did do was interchange well with Aubameyang, and also he runs back to pick up the ball. He just won't stay. Okay, I am the out and out, but I'm not just going to stay here. He'll come and put a shift in. Whereas with Xhaka, on the other hand, it's just he just needs in his position. He just needs more. He just needs more development, and I think we can get it out of him.
Yeah, and of course we're just gonna keep this to another 10 minutes or so, hopes, because I know it's getting late, very late there for you. But the point on Aubameyang, he's actually played on the left wing before for Borussia Dortmund, I think, earlier in his career. So he is used to doing that. If the focal point of
Aubameyang.
the attack drops out, he gets into the box, which is very valuable for us. Um, Boots TX Laka doesn't seem to have the work rate like he used to.
I I think since his injury, like I said in our last podcast, late September, early October when he done his ankle in, since he's come back, he's not been as
Mobile.
yeah, he hasn't been as influential. He has
Hmm.
not been as clinical, lacking a bit of confidence there. I would say, yeah, with Boots, I'd agree with Boots in the sense that he doesn't have that work rate. And I think it all comes down to that confidence, getting the game time, and just, yeah, developing that relationship more with Pepe and Ozil. Like tonight, we saw Ozil playing a beautiful ball on the counter attack, and
Yeah,
Laka didn't run for it. I don't think that was fitness. I think, because one of our players went down and Oswald went up to Laka and Laka apologised and said, "Oh, I didn't think you were going to play the ball. Like I didn't think you were going to trap back, like to close down the opposition player, Wan-Bissaka, win the ball and then feed it. Otherwise, I was off. Because he
yeah,
Zet could have been in a one-on-one situation. So yeah, I'm with Boots. At the moment he doesn't have the work rate. However, I don't. The thing with Lacazette, he can only get better.
yeah.
With Xhaka, however, I don't
He's
know.
Yeah, Laka is coming into the prime of his career, 27 years old, I think, at this point. Let's just round up the second half with my notes here. Obviously, there was more meat on the bone in the first half. Like we already mentioned, hopes maybe we vary in the percentages, but we do agree Arsenal backed off and wanted to retain the 2 goals. Manchester United stepped it up, whatever percentages is debatable, but there was that evening out overall over 90 minutes to where you say the passes were almost equal. Maybe the possession was almost equal at the end of the game. But in the 54th minute, my notes say United coming into the game, and then there's 2 changes on 57 minutes. Lingard comes off for Pereira. James comes off for Greenwood. And while they huffed and puffed, for me, they didn't really have a great impact on the game. Those substitutions for Manchester United.
Yeah, second half, Ray, for me, was all about game management. It was okay. We know, as I said earlier, we know we can attack, and we're bloody well good at it, and we're playing one touch, finesse football.
Hmm.
From defensive midfield to attack. Second half was just, to me, it was just all about, okay, now, because we're 2-0 up, let's learn how to defend. Let's learn how to manage a game. Let's see if our front attacking four will come back and defend, and hence why the sub was made on the 62nd minute, and Reece Nelson was brought on because Pepe was found
Yep.
wanted. He
Yep.
wasn't coming back. But yeah, it was a game of two halves, quite literally, and it was all about let's see if we can pick up the if we can learn to pick up the runs. That's why their substitutions, Man United substitutions, were, they didn't have much of an effect. Let's see if we can hit them on the counter.
And
Um,
but that is super. That is great for confidence as well, because Arteta's got a blueprint now that he can show the players. Look, this is what you can do in the first half if you go on the front foot and attack, and look in the second half, you defended very, very well as a team.
it's two sides to a game, isn't it? That it's not just all about attacking. And we see Liverpool doing it this season, where they're coasting, barely in first gear, and they're winning games,
Yes.
right? They know when to put the foot on the gas, and they know when to take it off. And
It,
you,
yes.
and that is because no player, no matter who they are, is going to have the ability to play high intensity, high tempo football for 90
90.
minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a case of, okay, we're gonna have to go on the defensive here. Now we know our shape attacking. Do we know our shape defending? Do our players know what their defensive responsibilities and duties are? Now you show me that. That's why it looks on the eye that United suddenly had the upper foot. I,
Yeah.
I, I genuinely believe, my friend, don't be fooled.
Yeah.
We
Yeah. Yeah.
let
Yeah.
that possession because they did nothing with it.
Yeah.
I cannot remember a time when I was worried, despite them having the additional possession and based on the additional passes. I cannot remember a time where I thought, oh, hold on, we're like Chelsea, we're going to concede here.
Great analysis. I love it. Hopes. We should play like a snake. We lay there in the grass, waiting for the time to strike when our opponent is at its weakest, and that's what top class football is all about. Um, Kolasinac comes off in the 68th minute. Saka comes on. We talked about Pepe coming off and Nelson coming on, and for me, Pepe lost control, but we already did that to a death. Um, 70th minute, Wan Bissaka dives in the penalty area. I was a little bit worried with an Aubameyang challenge, but it looked like a clear dive to me.
I won't lie, I did think, oh gosh, what's happened here? Because was it Aubameyang and Saka, or was it Aubameyang and Xhaka? They were close, and I didn't realise it was Aubameyang. Um, and you see, those kind of decisions can go either way. I mean, I'll
Mm,
go back to
yep.
there was a game I saw the highlights of earlier today when it was a Watford game, the Watford Wolves game. Yeah, similar foul that Jorginho made against Guendouzi. Their player VAR sent off Watford's defender. Similar foul. And yet again on Sunday, Jorginho stayed on the pitch and happened to get the winner.
Mm,
However, today when it went to VAR, yeah, my hand, my jaw dropped, and I was like, oh dear, like, are they, I just don't trust those people at Stockley Park,
yeah.
whoever whoever they are, and it could easily go um, anyway. Luckily, they realised it was a dive, um,
Yeah.
But that's
Ah,
something we need to add to our game in addition to the tactical fouls. When to
yeah,
go down? I mean, Guendouzi started doing it at the start of this season, almost looking for the foul, and
yeah.
I think it did get us a penalty like that, or one or two penalties. But
Well,
now we've
one thing hopes I did the pregame with Gundam News, Matt here, uh, saying one of the things I wanted to see, and maybe I tweeted as well. I wanted to see what Arsenal players would do in the situation where they needed to take or make a professional foul. I don't actually think I saw that today. I don't think we had a situation where that was needed.
it wasn't needed, but I remember Xhaka doing it around the 85th, 86th minute when we gave away the free kick.
Yes, right at the
Uh,
end.
Yeah, I think that was more out of frustration because he knew he'd been beaten and he made an error. Um, but yeah, other than that, I can't remember a time tonight when that was needed. And also, that's a major talking point, isn't it? Because Arsenal are elegant. We're not that kind of team. But as we're seeing the likes of City, United,
Yeah,
and Chelsea, Tottenham, all our rivals doing it, we're gonna have to adapt, and hopefully Mikel's got some
and
kind of plan
hopes
for.
we used to be that team under Arsene Wenger in the very first 7 to 8 years under Arsene Wenger, to the point of where we played elegant football, but we were also a tough team, and people were saying we were dirty. The amount of red cards under Arsene Wenger stacked up over those years, but he would never see those challenges.
I mean, omitting Vieira, Petit, right? Who
Yes,
who Wenger brought in. If you omit them, it was because for the first 7, 8 years, Wenger inherited the England back four, and those players were versed. They knew what to do. They knew how to do it. Even Martin Keowney still speaks about it today. Tony Adams, there's no way they're getting around me.
yes,
I'll give the
yeah,
foul. I think against Chelsea when Mustafi should have attacked Tammy Abraham rather than backing off. I watched Tony Adams on an interview and he said, in my day, I was going towards Tammy Abraham and I was taking him out. He weren't
yeah,
getting past the halfway line.
yeah,
And yeah, so I think it was because of what Wenger inherited. Because then after that back four retired, you saw we wouldn't do it. Even when Xhaka first came to the club, he was renowned for his hot head, and he got quite a few red cards early on, so on and so forth. And it was argued that Wenger took that part out of his game.
yeah. Um. Okay, so hopes we're happy 2-0 win.
Yeah.
The only game so far this season in the league with a 2 goal margin, a clean sheet, 1 of 4 clean sheets out of 20 games for Arsenal this season. Reasons to be happy, reasons to move forward.
More to come.
More to come. 5 days till the Leeds game. We play Leeds on Monday, an FA Cup game. Um, Transfers. Do you think we can do anything in the next 5 days? Should we be doing business quickly this month? Will we be doing business this month?
Oh, good question. Good question. I definitely feel that we need to do business if we want to head in and around the top four. I mean, I think it's wide open now. We're in the top 10, where well, I think we're about.
I'm going to check that now for you. I think we're about 10th place or ninth place.
I believe we're 10th place, and I believe we're 9 points behind Chelsea. And with our rivals drawing and losing, Tottenham and
Yeah.
Man
Manchester United.
United and Wolves as well, there are points to be had. And
Yeah.
hopefully, if we go on a bit of run, if we go on a bit of a run, and that for which we're gonna need players, because let's face it, if anything happens to Xhaka, that whole robust, resilient partnership with Torreira, we're screwed. If anything happens to Torreira, we've literally lost our ball playing centre defensive midfielder.
Yes.
Um, I can't see Xhaka or Guendouzi taking over. So it'd be nice to get a midfielder. It would be nice to get a centre back. and potentially, I would say, if we could, a left back and a right back.
At least some loans, at least.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know. Are you aware that Titi was in the ground tonight?
No.
Titi was in the ground. He was watching. He put it on his Insta. And I don't
Right.
know what that's all about. So that it could just
Was Upper Meccano there? Was Koulibaly there?
I don't know. I think Upamecano and Koulibaly, they're a lot of YouTubers, podcasters, they go for them because they've
Yeah.
been linked to us. So
Flavor in the mud. Yeah.
absolutely, but it'd be interesting. Also, wouldn't it put out a statement from the board? Because as I've
That's
said,
what I was that's what
in
I was
my
gonna say next. We
in
need to
my
make a statement defensively. Sorry.
in my opinion, it's 40% Mikel Arteta, 30% players, and 30% the board. And if the board were to invest in January, that would be them helping Mikel Arteta. And again, it's something we haven't done, or it's not something we do. If we do, we do it rarely. I think Aubameyang was the last player we purchased in January,
Yeah.
in a January window.
Yeah.
So idealistically, I'd love for us to get someone. Do I think we're going to get someone? The jury's out, because if I say to you realistically, I don't think we are, then it worries me because what happens, as I've just said, if one of these players gets an injury, we,
Yeah.
we definitely need reinforcements. But Mikel has said it himself, he needs the right kind of player. He's not just going to buy for the sake of buying.
Yeah.
So going back to your point, maybe a loan is more will
Yeah.
be more fruitful
But
and feasible.
defensively, well, I think Chambers is out for the season, unfortunately now. After I think doing very, very well this season.
But did you see who was on the bench tonight, my friend?
Was it Mustafi?
Rob Holding.
Yeah, I did see Rob Holding. He actually got stripped off, was ready to come on.
Absolutely. So there is some hope there, but again, we're going to have to wait for Rob to come back in the team. And generally, when he does come back in the team, he's very commanding. I expect him to play against Leeds.
Yes.
But nevertheless, I would still like someone, because again, similar to Torreira, what happens if Luis goes? Who's going to be Who's going to be our ball playing centre back if anything happens to Luis? You know, and therefore it would just be it would be so well appreciated, I believe, by every Arsenal fan if the board was to put like some money down and bring a player in. And
Defensively, somewhere
I
where
also
we need it, right?
absolutely, I also heard tonight that, and I believe it was from Mikel Arteta, that Xhaka is not going, that he's happy and he wants to stay.
I also heard Nketiah's loan deal is possibly coming to an end with Leeds as well.
Not possibly, it has. He
Yes.
played his last game. He tweeted, I believe earlier on today or yesterday, because he went to the home fans and he clapped them all. He done his standard. He had standing innovation. So he's coming back. He's due back. So that's good. It takes some pressure off our attack, especially
Yes.
in like the Carabao Cup.
Yes.
Maybe depending on who we join, the FA Cup.
Yep.
Maybe in Europe as well, depending on who we draw.
Exactly. Some people have asked, what can he do for us? He's not going to pull up trees and win the Europa League single-handedly for us, or the FA Cup with an FA Cup run. But what he can do is limit the huge amount of minutes that Lacazette would be expected to do this season, and Aubameyang would be expected to do this season. And
It goes
yeah,
back, sorry, it goes back to a point about um, players having to fight for their place. Now, if I was Lacazette and I knew I've only got 50 minutes and then Nketiah is coming on, then I want to maximise my productivity in those 50 minutes. That's in one hand, and on the other hand, absolutely, definitely agree with your second point as well. In so much as he's not going to pull out any trees, but at the same time, it gives our forward some breathing space.
yeah, yeah. Any further points before we bring this to a close? Because it's nearly 3 a.m. right there where you are.
Wow, shit, gosh. um, yeah,
Real time, baby.
yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad that the
Yeah,
Arsenal going in, you know, in the right direction. Mikel is walking his talk. The players are playing for him. The players look revitalized. Onwards and upwards. I just wish them all the best of luck, and I just, the fans as well. I just, I just hope they wouldn't look for scapegoats. They'd get behind players who are lacking in confidence, i.e., Lacazette, and the second half of the season, which we would like would run out of energy under Unai Emery and under Arsene Wenger. The winter period would drop a
yeah,
lot of points. It now looks very hopeful. I'm already looking forward to Leeds United. I'm looking forward to Crystal Palace
yeah,
because with each game, it's a case of wow, what else are we going to produce? What
yeah.
else is coming up? And
I'm
I have
annoyed there's no game for us Saturday or Sunday. It's on Monday.
Absolutely, and I'm looking forward to seeing now because they're going to have about 5 day rest or 4 day rest, like what an opportunity to train and to develop new tactics and for Mikel to instill those tactics
Yeah,
and his philosophy. So it's a case of what is coming next. I want to see
yeah.
the
It's
pre- the,
exciting.
pre- the prequel. It's just like
Yeah,
wow, and I
and
haven't felt this way in many years.
what we have to do now with three games, that came quick and fast. We do need to rest some of the critical players like Torreira. Brian Leno's going to get a rest. There's going to be wholesale changes, probably for the Leeds game, and it's needed. Do you think? Obviously, we're going to prioritize the league, but do you think we should prioritize the FA Cup to a large degree as well? Final question.
Hey, I think with the likes of Rob Holding, Bellerin, uh, Nketiah coming back, Reece Nelson, why not? Let's just go for
Rotate,
it, you
rotate,
know,
right?
because we can afford to rotate.
Yeah,
Therefore, do we actually have to look at it as making something a priority? In one sense, we do with the Europa League into the back door into the Champions League insurance policy in case we run out of steam or we go on a downward spiral
yeah,
because things like that are possible at the Arsenal. But yeah, overall, I just think let's go for it. And I think, like Mikel said in the lead up to this game during his press conference, every game is important
yeah. In
because
Go ahead.
it's an opportunity to instill what they're learning on the training pitch.
Yeah,
Whoever it is, this is the philosophy. These are the 11 players. Now, let me see who can do what. And also, that is massive for players like Emil Smith Rowe, like Willock. We haven't mentioned Willock tonight. John
yeah,
Jules, to come in and to like Medley, because they're being developed as well behind the scenes to show
yeah,
us
yeah,
how they're benefiting. So, in one sense, why do we have to prioritise the FA Cup and the Premier League? Because it seems like Mikel's got his starting 11 who played tonight for the Premier League, and then Tierney comes back in for Kolasinac once he's fit. But in the interim, for these lesser games, we do have a squad, and more than a squad, we have the philosophy
yeah.
to act out.
Yeah, excellent. Today's been a good day, hopes. Finally getting a win, a well-deserved win under Mikel Arteta. One that we'll all remember. We'll all remember this day, New Year's Day 2020. Perhaps it is the beginning of a new era, but hopefully an era that can start a new decade for us. We did win three trophies in the last decade. Let's remember some other clubs that are very much loved in the media have not been able to say that in the past few years. Had to get the dig in there.
Yeah.
A clean sheet and two goals to boot.
Can ask for more. First day of a new year, first day of the new decade, a new era. Just onwards and upwards.
Onwards and upwards. Yeah, exactly.
Congratulations, players and to the management. You know.
Hopes, thank you for your time. My old friend from London, thank you for coming in with me today. I really, really appreciate it. Um, but a great day. 2-0.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Take care, my friend. Go get some sleep. I remember what David Luiz said: 4 hours sleeping happily. I was thinking about this before we started. 4 hours sleeping happily is better than 8 hours sleeping sadly. So enjoy your 4 hours, my friend.
Thanks a lot, my friend. Take care. Look after yourself, and happy New Year to you and all your
Happy New
viewers.
Year, everybody, once again. Come on, you Gooners. Up the Arsenal. We're out of here. We move on to Leeds and Mikel Arteta.